regular monthly meeting of the Novi HOSA Board will come to order. The Secretary will take roll call.
Mr. Cole.
Present.
Mr. Choi.
Present.
Mr. Srivastava.
Present.
Mr. Nafte.
Present.
Mr. Bodapati.
Present.
Mr. Treasurer.
Present.
Mr. President.
Present. Now that a quorum has been established, we may continue with officer reports. The Secretary will now read the minutes of the previous meeting.
The regular monthly meeting of the Novi HOSA Board was held on October 30th, 2021 at 3:30 p.m., the President being in the chair and the Secretary being present. The minutes of the last meeting were read and approved as read. The Treasurer's report was presented and filed for audit. Joshua Bodapati moved the main motion, which after debate and amendment was lost. The motion was to create a blood drive consisting of 10 students from Novi High School. A point of order was called, stating that the chair moved forward without a second. The chair ruled that the point of order was well taken. The meeting was adjourned at 4 p.m.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Are there any corrections to be made to the minutes? Hearing none, the minutes are approved as read. May we now have the Treasurer's report?
Our balance on hand at the start of the month, November 1st, was $1,453.45. Our total receipts came to $365.55 from our member dues and our fundraising, and our total disbursements came to $111.65. This was from our stationery printing costs, our postage costs, and the rentals of our room. The balance on hand as of today, November 30th, 2021, is $1,707.35.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Your report will be filed for audit. The Chair now recognizes the Spirit Work Committee for their report.
On behalf of the Spiritware Committee, I'd like to report that the due date for the Spiritware design submissions has passed. We expect to vote on these designs during our next monthly meeting, which will be on the 31st of December.
Thank you, Mr. Choi. Under unfinished business, it was moved and seconded to provide PPE to local homeless shelters. Is there any debate?
Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. Bodapati.
I disagree with the motion because although I sympathize with these homeless shelters, I believe that we can use our funds more efficiently.
Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. Secretary.
I rise in favor of this motion because of how the current economy does not provide enough PPE to the homeless, so we should help them in order to prevent the spread of the virus.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Cole.
I agree with this motion because this will qualify as a tax write-off and won't strain our finances.
Is there any further debate? Hearing none, the question is on whether to provide PPE to local homeless shelters. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
No.
The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. We will provide PPE to local homeless shelters.
I rise to the point of personal privilege.
Everyone will state his point.
The mask that was provided to us is causing me irritation. May I take it off?
This point is not well taken, as to take off your mask would be endangering the health of our entire group.
I appeal from the decision of the chair.
The decision of the chair has been appealed from. The ruling of the chair was that all members have to wear their masks during meetings. The question is on whether the decision of the chair shall be sustained. As the rules permit, the chair will speak first. The chair believes that everyone has to keep their masks on during meetings because it's important to reduce the risk of spreading COVID-19 during this health pandemic we're in. And taking protective measures like wearing masks are imperative to ensuring the success that we can overcome this virus. The floor is now open.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Bodapati.
all of us here are vaccinated and have shown negative test results for COVID-19 in the last week. Also, it helps with communication with our mask on.
Is there any further debate? Hearing none, the chair will make the closing statement. Even if that is so, we must take every preventive measure we have, such as wearing masks, to make sure that we are effective with reducing the risk of spreading the virus. Now, the question is on whether to sustain the decision of the chair. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
No.
The noes have it, and the decision of the chair is overturned. You may take off your mask if you wish. Is there any new business?
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Nafte.
I move that the HOSA chapter purchase a copy of Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised in brief for each member.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the HOSA chapter purchase a copy of Robert's Rules of Order newly revised in brief for each member. Is there any debate? Yes, Mr. Nafte.
I agree with this motion because these new books have rules and regulations that are not in previous editions. With these new copies, we will be able to perform better as a team, and every member will have the most knowledge of the event that they can.
Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. Secretary.
I disagree with this motion, as rather not every event in our Nova HOSA board chapter does not require Robert's Rules of Order.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Treasurer.
I move to refer this motion to the Standing Finance Committee.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to.
Mr. President, I have a parliamentary inquiry.
The member will state his inquiry.
Will this motion's vote be a standing or voice vote?
This motion's vote will be a voice vote, as it only requires a majority vote to pass. Does this answer your question?
Yes.
It's moved and seconded to refer the main motion to the Standing Finance Committee. Is there any debate?
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Treasurer.
I rise in favor of this motion because it's wise to let the Standing Finance Committee take a look at this motion and see how it will affect our budget and get back to us.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Srivastava.
I disagree with this motion because it'll take time to carry out this process, and it'll also leave HOSA members with not enough time to learn the new material.
Is there any further debate? Hearing none, the question is on whether to refer the main motion to the Standing Finance Committee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
No.
The noes have it, and the motion is lost. The question is now back on the main motion. Is there any debate on the main motion?
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Choi.
I move to amend this main motion by striking out member and inserting parliamentary procedure team.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to amend the main motion by striking out member and inserting parliamentary procedure team. Is there any debate on the amendment?
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Choi.
I rise in favor of this motion due to the unnecessary time loss and redundancy considering the sheer number of members in this HOSA chapter. Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. Bodapati.
I disagree with this motion because it is not just parliamentary procedure teams that require Robert's Rules of Order.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Nafte.
I agree with this motion because Robert's Rules of Order has a higher priority for parliamentary procedure teams than other teams, since professional debate is an essential part of parliamentary procedure.
Is there any further debate on the amendment? Hearing none, the question is on whether to amend the main motion by striking out member and inserting parliamentary procedure team. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
No.
The ayes have it, and the motion passes. The main motion now reads that the HOSA chapter purchase a copy of Robert's Rules of Order, duly revised in brief, for each parliamentary procedure team. The question is now back on the main motion. Is there any debate on the main motion?
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Cole.
I would like to take a recess for 6 minutes.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to take a recess for 6 minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
No.
The noes have it, and the motion is lost. Question is now back on the main motion. Is there any debate on the main motion?
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Treasurer.
last year our highest placement in the State Leadership Conference was 4th, and this was without the book. With the book, I believe we will have a better increase in our standings.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Cole.
I'd also like to add, 5 years ago, when we had the latest book, one of our teams made it to first place in the state's leadership conference and top 10 in the international leadership conference.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Srivastava.
I move the previous question.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to move the previous question. All those in favor, please rise. Please be seated. All those opposed, please rise. There are 2/3 in the affirmative, and the motion passes. The question is now on whether to adopt the main motion. The main motion reads that the HOSA chapter purchase a copy of Robert's Rules of Order, duly revised in brief, for each parliamentary procedure team. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
No.
The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. The HOSA chapter will purchase a copy of Robert's Rules of Order, duly revised in brief, for every parliamentary procedure team. Is there any further business today?
Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. Cole.
I move to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn this meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. This meeting is adjourned.